The dream of running your own business is that clients come to you. When you first start out, you have to go to them. You have to ring them, email them, call them. You have to do the work. But the dream is if you get your website right, if you get your SEO right, if you get your social media right, the customers will come to you. Is the dream real? The extraordinary belongs to those that create it. Rebelling against business plans and debt, rebelling against what society expects of us to build cool businesses, make money, have fun, and do good. Let's create something extraordinary together. Welcome to The Rebel Entrepreneur. So here we are talking about digital life, and we have Christina of Fresh Print Media back. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
It's so good to have you back. I've been looking forward to this episode. And we have alongside Christina, we have Henry Nicholson of the Rebel Business School. Welcome back to the show, Henry.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellent. So we're back together, and we're talking your digital life and how does it all tie together? Because that's the kind of dream, isn't it, Henry, is that clients come to us. Because Christina and I have spent so long going to clients, and we put a huge amount of effort. Well, Christina's put a huge amount of effort into getting clients, but the dream is they come to us. Is that possible, Henry? Does it actually happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know it's extreme, but you got to look at the likes of some of the biggest companies, the household companies that all of us know. Things like Amazon. Amazon don't have to market a thing because we go to them. And it's the same with some of the big brands, like Sony. You don't need to think about, you don't need to search and find Sony. You know what you want to buy from them. Obviously, I'm not saying we're going to turn up, we're not going to become Sony straight away very quickly, but there is a point where business stops becoming so much push and becomes a lot more pull. So business will come to you and you don't have to be the one going out there and making stuff happen every single day, although that is still important to do.
Christina, have you had clients come to you? How has that been working on that side?
I've had a couple inquiries that have come to me. So I'm not really sure where they came from, though, because people are horrible at responding. So I actually put that on my list to follow up today.
So those are recent ones that have come to you?
Yeah.
So you don't know where they came from, though?
No.
Okay, that's interesting. So, did they fill in the form on the website? How did it come? Was it just a random email? What happened?
Via email, but asking about the work that I do on that would be posted on Fresh Print Media, but to the email that's to another website I have that's just kind of my portrait photos.
Okay.
So it's kind of random. So yeah, mystery.
Interesting. So one of the top tips for anyone listening to this, if you can, is as soon as an inquiry comes in, get back to them if you can by phone number. Sometimes they don't give you their phone number, so reply by email. But one of the questions to ask is where did you find me from? Because this is going to help us determine where people are searching, what they're searching, and help us to find more clients. So we've got a few kind of coming in through different websites. Let's think about your digital life overall. So everyone listening to this, I kind of want you to imagine that in the very center is your website. So in the center of this diagram is your website. And then you've got all these things that are outside it. So your LinkedIn profile, your Google My Business profile, your Instagram, and all of these things that are sort of outside it that bring people to your website. And then when they're at your website, hopefully they look at your services, they look at your product, and they send you a message or they buy it. Henry, is that kind of how you see these things in the digital life picture overall?
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess the center of the universe for your digital life is kind of the place that you want your customers to go. So, for example, if you were a YouTuber, it would be the YouTube channel because that's where the value is. That's where you want people to be. That's where the most of the traffic needs to go. But you're exactly right. You want to look at, is it the website? Is it a blog? What's the one place you want all of your customers, all of your traffic to go? And then everything else branches off that and should be finding you that traffic and pulling it in. That's how that stuff works.
I love that. So how do you feel overall, Christina, that your sort of digital ecosystem for your business is set up? Is it working for you? Is it what are your feelings over it?
I feel like it's still in progress. I don't know, because I feel like we're in a good place as far as like it's fairly put together. Like it's fairly I don't know if you could say streamlined, but there's being work being done, things being, working towards optimize like the Google My Biz, but it's also not, I don't feel like I'm getting as much traction off of it as one would want to, but I also know that it's not an overnight thing. So I don't know.
So it's quite interesting. The Google My Business episode was number 4 in this season.
Yeah.
And at that point, we couldn't find you, Christina. We kept scrolling. You didn't show up. Last, I think a couple of episodes ago, we searched again and you were up to number 28, which is
Yeah.
incredible, going from not found to number 28. And I've just done it again just for the fun of it. And you're now up to number 17.
Oh, yay.
And this is not overnight stuff. You've now also got 10 reviews on there. You've got 10 5-star reviews. You've got photos. Like, you've made huge progress. But you're
Yeah.
right. It's not an overnight thing. And I think that's something that Henry and I speak about a lot of the time, is this is the slow burn stuff that you do that eventually will bring return. But it's not going to bring return in 1, 2, 3, 4 months. It's the 6 months, the 12 months, the 2 years later, you've got a massive mailing list and clients are coming to you, which doesn't sound fun, which is why actually we spent the entire first season going, how are we actively going to get clients? Because most people just wait for them to come to you and they never end up coming to you. So we're making progress, but I don't think it feels like that to most people. Like, they don't feel like they're making progress. They don't feel like things are happening. I mean, Henry and I did an entire episode on search engine optimization, and that stuff, you do a bit each week for maybe a year, and then you start to build some credibility, and it's a long game for your business. Google My Business is actually far quicker. Henry, thoughts and feelings on this sort of overall subject?
Yeah, I think we can never say that enough, that this stuff doesn't happen overnight, and it is a long term goal. There is more active things we can be doing. Using social media, getting referrals. Encouraging referrals is something that I've only recently started doing for the Rebel School. Let alone any of my web design stuff or any of the other things. And there's a bunch of actions we can take that will result in really quick action, but all of that works in tandem with this digital stuff that we've been setting up, so that 1-2 years down the line, there's a huge amount of traffic happening because of the hard work that we put in up front as well. So I guess what we're trying to do is we want to build out this structure. We want to build out your digital life, see what that map looks like, and then do the hard work to drive traffic to it, because then it starts to go. It's like when you kickstart an engine. You've got to get it turning first. You've got to get it going. Then it starts to run on its own. And that's the point that we're at. And that, I think a big thing that will kill a lot of startups is that realization of how long that stuff can take, and how much work that can be. And I think that's, we live in a society where we can get things same day. We can go online, order something, and have it by 2 p.m. And like, I can get food from the other side of London delivered to me within an hour. It's ridiculous. But because we are used to getting things so quickly, that's one of the biggest hurdles you've got to get over as a small business, is that actually this stuff does take some time. And there are quick wins, there are things we can do, but we have to do this as a long-term goal, because unless we treat this as a 2-3 year build, it's never going to get to the point where people are finding us, because we're focusing too much on what's the next customer, what's the next customer, what's the next one. We want to build this stuff out to work for us, not against us.
Yeah.
So what are the key elements of the digital life we need to look at? The business digital life, Henry, what are the key elements we need to look at?
Yeah, so I guess let's start at the center of the universe, right? We need to know where people are going. So, in this case, for Christina, that's the website, it's the portfolio. That's where we want everything we do in our activity, online, offline, through email, through phone, everything that we do, we want to pass traffic to the center of our universe. One common mistake that I see quite a lot of the time is when people they'll post on Twitter going, check out this photo I've just posted on Instagram. And then what they're doing is they're
Mm.
sending people to the same. Do you see what I mean? They're sending them out to another outreach post, not to the
Oh.
actual thing, right? So what you should be doing is on Twitter going, I've just posted this new thing, see it on my website here,
Mhm.
or add value there and bring the traffic through. And the whole point of this stuff is that you're building out basically employees. Social media channels act as employees to bring in business, and they go and find people, and they're meant to push them into the center of your universe, which is your website. So
They're salespeople, aren't they, Henry? You're
they
sending out
are.
your salespeople into the field to work for you. Send them out, crack the whip, get them working, and bring the customers back.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Like, everything is an employee. A hashtag is an employee for you, especially on things like Instagram and Twitter. You need to be putting this stuff out there, seeing how it performs, and then bringing it in for a one-to-one, having a good word with it when it's underperforming, and then sending it back out. All of this stuff works like that, and so I guess building this digital world, we need to know what the center of our universe is. That's step one. Then we need to figure out, where are my customers going to be? Where are they hanging out? So, in your case, Christina, you're using LinkedIn, you're in Instagram, and you've got Facebook as well. And I think
Yeah.
that's all of them. And based on our best guess of where our customers are going to be hanging out. So, if we're aiming at the corporate marketing teams that we've been talking about, LinkedIn and Instagram are the best ones for that by a country mile, which is actually the
Yeah.
same as an urban mile. And so, by once we've then chosen, where are my customers most likely to be, and where do I want to be spending my time, because that is also important. You need to actually enjoy the process, because this is going to take up some time. And then we just need to get to work, and we need to start talking to people, and we need to start referring them through. One thing that is very important within all of this is, how does it link together? How does somebody get from a Facebook post that they've met you on, that you're engaging with them? How do we get them from there through to the center of our universe? Because that can take many different shapes. That can come in a few different forms. That might be, I've added a bit of value, I'm having a conversation, now I'm giving you the link directly to my website. That might be, I'm chatting with you, I'm adding value, you then go to my profile and go, who is this person? Why are they talking to me? And then there's a link through that way. And
Mhm.
this thing can happen in a range of different ways, and we've just got to make sure that wherever anybody goes across any of your digital life, it looks like you are a photographer for brands. And it's that, I guess I would call it cross branding. And I don't mean having a nice logo and fancy slogans and vision statements, because all of that stuff doesn't matter. That's rubbish. What I mean is that people look at it, and within 3 seconds, I know exactly who you are, what you do, and what your value is. That's what we're getting to. And everything in our digital world needs to do that. Point through to the center of the universe and push people through to whatever the next action might be.
How are you feeling about this, Christina? Any thoughts or reflections on the episode so far?
I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, I feel like everything I have is directs them to the website fairly well. I could be wrong, but I feel like it does.
Well, I've had a look through Google My Business, and it's actually looking really good with the picture at the top. We changed the title to Commercial Photographer. You've got your times, you've got a link to your Calendly, you've got a link to the website, your phone number, the reviews. My review is currently top on the list, which I don't know if Google's just showing me that because I'm egotistical and I like to see my own review. But someone's given my review a thumbs up. And you haven't replied to my review yet,
I
though.
know.
I can't
It's on
believe
my
that.
list.
Unbelievable. And you've got 10 5-star reviews. And then at the web results at the bottom, it's got your website, your Instagram, and your LinkedIn. So actually, like, other than getting more reviews using the key terms, like Google My Business is like, we're making progress. We're making progress. We just need to get some more reviews using the right key terms. And we're actually
Yeah.
like, that's working really well. So I would agree. You've set that up beautifully. It's really starting to come together.
I have a comment around the link bit. So, pointing people back to your website from your social channels. And so what you've done on Instagram, both on your personal and on Fresh Print Media's account, you've got a flow page link.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what flow page is, it's like Linktree, flow page, Linktree. Basically, you get to put all of the links through to your entire digital life in one place. So then in your bio, when people click on it, they then get, however many options you want to give them for different places they can find you. So you could link through to your other socials, your store page on Etsy, your website, your YouTube channel, and so on. That's really good because the user experience of those are amazing. So people go on, they find it really simple to engage with you. You can put things in there just like drop me an email now. You can make it really simple for people to engage with you. A thought for
Mm.
you is, why don't you build the exact same thing out but on your own website so that you're then getting the traffic? Because at the moment what's happening is you're giving Flow Page
The
all of your
traffic.
traffic through Instagram, right? And
Yeah.
one thing that Google look at from an SEO standpoint is how many people are actually using your website, how many people are visiting, where are they going, what they're doing, are they getting to what they need is the most important bit. So actually that might be just a really quick fix that helps get you just that little extra shot of traffic, is that everybody comes into your website to then go to whatever it is that they're trying to find.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I only just ever heard of that recently, like in the last week or so, doing that and using your website to do the same thing. And I thought, well, that's smart.
Because at the moment, your flow page takes you to, do you want to go to Fresh Print Media or do you want to go to the Shout Out LA feature? And it does kind of have the phone number, the send us a message, the email icons, but the two big buttons are those,
Hmm.
which there's no reason why you can't. Like, if they go straight to your website, you could highlight the Shout Out LA feature up there, and your website can easily do that stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Good spot, Henry. So, should we move on to the center of the universe, Henry, and the website? Shall we start there?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So, if you're listening to this, Christina hopefully has updated it already because this will have happened in the past by the time it gets published. But if you're listening to this, go to freshprintmedia.com, have a look at what Christina is doing. Get on Google and search for Commercial Photographer LA and see if Christina turns up, and start to have a look at those items right now whilst Henry goes through this. Henry, let's start. Where should we start? Should we start on the homepage?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, naturally, the homepage it's the most important. It's like the front cover of a magazine. It's the first thing that anybody see for the most part, but also Google will rank your homepage as more important. So actually, it's really, really vital for us to make sure the homepage is right. Now that seems like a big statement, making it right. What does that even mean? Is that even possible? Because this stuff changes all the time, and I need to be updating it, and it needs to change. Rah. I was going to say you're right, but I'm the one that said it. Yes, I'm right. So
I love that you self-congratulate, Henry.
Something's got to keep me going. So looking at your website now, the changes that we've made since the last time, having part of your portfolio right at the top, 3 really big, awesome images. I think that absolutely, I look at it and I suddenly understand more of what you do. So yeah, absolutely, nail on the head. Well done. That's amazing. I think the thing that it could have, just give it that extra, I get it. Because all of this stuff needs to have that moment of every client looking at this needs to go, I know exactly what this is. I know what this business does. And or, wow, I need to work with this person, more importantly. I think it actually, now that we've got the images at the forefront of what you actually do, I think we could just have a little bit of supporting text just
Mm.
beneath it that sort of go, like, hey, I'm Christina, this is what I do. I
Yes.
help bring your products to life, whatever. Focusing in on those key phrases, those key terms that we've spoken about that your clients are going to be searching for. So just building it out a little bit, because at the moment,
Yeah.
we've got 2 really amazing pictures of a couple of bottles of whiskey, one of tequila, and then we've also got the skincare thing as well. They're really cool. We just need to figure out, how can we encompass all of this into one message and basically make it super, super obvious of what you do.
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
my first edit. And what this does is, there's a couple of things this does. One is, clients that are arriving on your homepage, they need to be able to look at this and know exactly what it is you do within 3 seconds. I think it might even be 2.5 seconds or something now. But you haven't got long to, grab their attention and persuade them that this is where they need to be. But on top of that, it's also the SEO thing. Like, the more we can reinforce to Google what we do, and give Google evidence that we are a photographer, we are based in LA, and we take photos for the food and beverage industry, whatever, that really, really direct stuff. So I think just to build that out a little bit more, because what you've done looks amazing, and it's leaps and bounds above the version that we had before. We just want to refine it and just add a little bit more, give it a little meat on the bones.
Okay.
Yes, because we kind of go straight from the 3 pictures to need photography, drop us a line. And I feel like there needs to be a little bit in between there that says, like, here's the services I provide. I'm a commercial photographer in LA. I also fly around the world to Mexico to photograph things. I do this for the food and beverage industry, the skincare industry. We do some great stuff. If you've got a query, drop us a line. And just that sentence, those few sentences, that small paragraph, I think just like the pictures grab, they tell everyone what you do, and then the sentences give you just that little bit more information. And Henry's right about the SEO bit. Like that's absolutely key to having those keywords in there as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about that. Mystery. It's a mystery. It's becoming less of a mystery, but so many things.
Yeah, SEO is always going to be a big thing to think about, and also it always changes. Something that happens and works for, I don't know, 2 years might not. After 3 weeks, and then it might change. And Alan, do you remember Kieran, who we met in Glasgow, who had the Dozy Owl blog?
The Dozy Owl. How could I forget Kieran, the man that reviewed mattresses online to make a living? He was my favourite example of someone who made money out of enjoying sleeping.
Literally, dream job. But I remember talking to Kieran. So the reason that Kieran's business took off, so it was all through affiliate marketing, right? He would sell review mattresses, have a link through to where you could buy it, and then he would get 10-15% commission for the sale. And mattresses like $500-600 each. You're going to get a pretty good payout for each one.
Yeah.
And he had really. I'll talk about Kieran a little bit more in a minute, because I've got another idea related. But I remember having a conversation with Kieran about his business a few years after we'd met him, and everything had changed. He was in a little bit of a mess because his whole business relied on SEO. He wasn't big on social media. He wasn't, all of his traffic came through blogs like, what's the best mattress for back problems? What's the best pillow to use for hay fever? Because apparently that can affect it. I don't know. And overnight, Google suddenly went, we're not going to look at that anymore. We're actually going to pay attention to this stuff. And then suddenly, he sees a dip in a few hundred visits on his website the next day.
Yeah.
And I think this is why it's important, going back to having this digital life across all of these platforms. It means that you're more diverse. So just relying on SEO can have a detrimental effect on your business later on when things change, because they will. Things never stay the same.
Yeah.
But then, not doing any of it also means you're constantly having to run in the hamster wheel. So it's finding that balance of both. And yeah, this stuff will always change, but Google's end goal, Google's entire purpose, is to bring as much value as it possibly can to their end user. It's not about
the people
it's not about
searching.
Business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, nerd language. It is all about Google delivering value to the people searching. So we need to play their game.
So if someone is actually searching commercial photographer LA, Google wants to give them the best possible results so that they stay on Google and they don't switch to Bing or some other search engine that no one particularly uses. I'm sorry, Microsoft. But they want to give the best possible experience to those people. So if they believe you're the result that people want to find, they will show you in those listings. And then they work that out through how many people are visiting your website. Do you have credibility in terms of links to your website? How long do people stay on it? Like, there's all these sort of metrics that they have to show whether or not you are the results that people want to find. And it's a fascinating game. It's one that is constantly evolving and changing. So we kind of need a long-term strategy for this where we don't have to keep updating, because as a small business owner, there's only so much time you can spend on this.
Yeah.
And if you spend your entire life reading SEO articles, you'll never actually do any business and make any money. So kind of as a long-term overall thing, it's providing as much value as you can for people searching for these terms. That's kind of the overview, isn't it, Henry?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 100%. 100%. And just as a side note, after Alan discriminated against everybody using Bing, you're allowed to use Bing. That's your life choice.
But we will judge you.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was still around. I mean,
I used
news
to
to
work for
me.
Microsoft running courses, and I'd say, when you Google this, and they would always correct me in the middle of the course, going, "You do not Google it, you Bing it," and it just didn't catch on for me. But let's move on quickly before I get myself in hot water with one of the biggest companies around the world. So, how do we actually implement these thoughts, Henry? Looking at Christina's website, what do we actually do? How do we implement it? Where do we go?
So I think the easiest step is let's just add context to the pages. Let's add some body text, let's add some titles, and let's just put the actual words that Google want to see on the page whilst maintaining your images being the main subject. Because, this is still a sales game, this is still a marketing game. We still want your pictures. What you do needs to be at the forefront. That's your main thing. We want people to fall in love with these pictures and see their products in these pictures first and foremost. Then they read what it is that you actually do. But by having it on there, it gets Google all excited, I think is the correct term.
Woo.
It gets Google excited. I love that. And it is quite interesting. Like, yes. So tell us how to actually do that, Henry. Like, what do we actually do? How do we physically do this?
Yeah, it is actually that simple. It is just about putting this stuff into the websites, writing it in, like as body text, as titles. It's just writing these words into it because Google literally read your website like a person.
Yeah. I have a question in that
Mm.
vein. So, SEO, well, all the stuff that's like supposed to make it ideal, like I feel like if you're writing for SEO, it feels a little keywordy and repetitive and stupid. And like, do people notice that or do they not even notice that? Like, I notice it when I'm trying to like do it, but and they want like sentences to be a certain length and active voice and this and that. Like, does it bug anyone or is it just me because it's a weird thing to me and it feels unnatural?
No, I think you're exactly on the money with that. Everybody's seen this. You'll go onto a website and it'll be like, I am a photographer in central London. I take photos because I'm a photographer for businesses in central London. Central London based photographer in central 100110. It's just so robotic and horrific to read. So actually, you've touched on a really important point here. You still want this stuff to be human, and Google is smart enough to translate words into what it's looking for, right? So Google knows that photography, photograph, DSLR, camera, image photography, all of that. Google knows that all of that sort of stuff is in the same realm. So actually, it's not about using the same phrase or sentence or individual words over and over and over again, but it's just making sure that the website's relevant and it's making sure that it's on the context and in the same, in keeping with what you're saying you do,
Okay.
right? So it's and I guess that's the thing, is that you don't necessarily need to do anything special. You just need to be really clear, really direct about what it is that you do and how you can support people, because that's what Google look at. Google look at this as if they're a person. It doesn't look at it like a robot.
And I think having those simple sentences at the start. So just whilst we were chatting, I looked up. Whilst we take the Mickey out of Bing, it is worth 6.7 of the global search market, 6.7%. So there are people searching on it, and it can be worth showing up there as well. So I Googled commercial photographer. I Googled on Bing, commercial photographer in Los Angeles. And like the simple terms that come up, they show you the title, they show you the domain, and then they show you a couple of sentences. And the number 2 says, Tom is an award-winning commercial photographer, and it highlights in bold the words you search for. With a gritty, intimate style, view his portfolio and hire one of the top photographers in Los Angeles. So he's managed to get Los Angeles photographers, commercial photographers, award-winning, hire, portfolio. into that one sentence, and it actually sounds quite reasonable. He's an award-winning commercial photographer with a gritty, intimate style. View his portfolio and hire one of the top photographers in Los Angeles. Like, that doesn't sound too spammy. It doesn't
No.
sound too bad, but it's a nice, clear sentence. So there's no reason why we can't have Christina Russo is one of the top commercial photographers in Los Angeles. She's won awards for her photography for the food and beverage industry. Have a look at her portfolio here, and there's no reason why you can't hire Christina Russo, Fresh Print Media now. Like, there's no reason why we can't get those keywords in there and still have a good quality sentence that makes you sound lovely.
Not like Christina Russo, commercial photography. Book now. Commercial photo photographer. Products on set with camera.
Yes, we could definitely craft a better sentence than that.
I'll make a word salad. It'll be great.
Although I think that would be quite good video content for your Instagram channel.
Yeah, I could do that. I could
One word at a time.
I could do an Instagram reel, like trying to figure out SEO. Actually, I might do that.
Yes, please. Please do.
Then some of the key bits is making sure that each page has slightly different sentences and slightly different bits. So, like, we've got the homepage, which has the overview sentences. Then we've got the portfolio pages. You've got food and beverage. Like, the food and beverage at the moment is just pictures, which I love, and planning your next campaign. We just need a sentence in there that says Christina Russo focuses on food and beverage commercial photography for big brands, helping them to make their products look fabulous, or whatever the sentence is. Because at the moment, there's no words for Google to read. There's just pictures.
Yeah.
Which I love.
You're right.
An easy solution for that as well is keep your words in image captions. Captioning every image.
So that will be...
Yeah, it all counts. It all counts. Google looks at everything. And
what about like the alt text and stuff?
Yes, I was going to come on to alt text. So adding captions to images are still searchable. That's how images come up in Google Images and all that kind of lovely stuff. But then also there is something called alt text, which you'll see when editing and uploading pictures. So alt text actually will get you brownie points for accessibility. So alt text is what gets read out if you're, sort of impaired vision, hard of sight, and you're using the internet. So, you can get browser add-ons that will read the web page out to you. So it's when you're uploading these pictures, you want to make sure you've got a description in there and using those keywords. So, product photo partnership with Smirnoff, or, whatever the image is of. So that it makes sense for people that are browsing it and need that level of accessibility. But also Google favor websites that are built for the masses to use. And it favors websites that are accessible. It favors websites that are optimized.
Okay. When you're looking, this is maybe a tangent, but when you're looking at it, it has like caption, which would show up then and there on the page. There's alt text, which is the descriptor, and then it has a description. Is that it just for your own use? What's the description? How's it different than the other things?
So have you ever done a Google image search? And when you click on the image, it will show you the name of the image, like the title, the caption, and then it has like a block of text under it as well. So the description part isn't something that usually show up on the website unless you want it to, through settings. But that's something that Google will take and will display on the Google search.
Okay.
So that's where all of that kind of stuff comes in. So adding text, so adding captions, adding alt text, adding descriptions to images, huge, because it's a way you can get a whole bunch of words into the page without making the page really wordy, which, especially for your business, is what we want to avoid, because it's all about the image. It's all about the pictures.
Yeah. Sorry, one more question in that vein, because I've been thinking about this lately. So, but it sounds like the description and the alt text are kind of the same thing, but with different, but why can't they just combine them into the same thing?
I've been asking that for 7 years.
Okay.
It's like, it's basically how this stuff's evolved. There was one point where Google were asking everything all completely individually. They were asking, what are your individual keywords then give me a title for your website separate to the URL, separate to the homepage title, then give me the description for it separate to what's on the page. And like it was asking for all of this stuff so it could index. But as Google's grown up and it's gotten smarter, like, things like Weebly, WordPress, Wix, they're actually still catching up to what Google are doing. So all of this stuff will still be in the web builders, but not all of it's necessarily relevant. The most important thing is what is on the page itself, because that's what Google will prioritize.
Okay.
And this goes for things like the URL. Google will search the domain name itself as actually the most important thing. So if you had, laphotographer.com, which I imagine is probably gone. If it's not, go buy it and sell it. laphotographer.com, Google will look at that and go, wow, that's definitely a photographer in LA, isn't it? And hey, jokes. So it looks at things like URL. It will look at the menu items. So something that I love about your website is you've got portfolio as a menu item. When you hover over that, it drops down to food and beverage and
people, spaces.
Exactly. Yes, I was just loading the page so I could read them out. But Google look at all of that stuff and it uses all of this. It collects all of this information to then deliver that search to the person searching. The more we can reinforce this stuff, the more we can back it up. And that point that Alan mentioned of making sure that not every page has the same stuff on it, because that used to be the case, that you could just copy and paste photographer in LA a million times on your website, and whoever had it the most won. Like that was kind of the idea. But now, it's smarter than that now. So if we have a food and beverage page, it needs to just be food and beverage photography, nothing else. No skin treatment stuff, no people, no spaces, just that. And then the same, and rinse and repeat that way.
Henry, question from me with the images, and I've been thinking about this from my own website. Get my own advice. Move over, Christina. I need help. I've been thinking about this for my own website. The file name of the picture as well. Does that help? So the file name, the alt description, everything lines up. Is that important for me to think through all those items?
It is. It is indeed. Don't waste hours, obviously. Like, don't go through your entire website renaming all of the pictures. I don't think it's that important. But it's useful to have your pictures just labeled correctly. So, for Christina, if you're uploading a new food and beverage portfolio, it would be, I don't know, Smirnoff Cocktail 1. Just something like that. So it's got some of the keywords in it to, again, reinforce what this is. So Alan, on yours, putting your name, for example, because most of your search probably comes from Alan Donegan. That's what people are searching for.
Alan Donegan, Rebel Entrepreneur, Rebel Business School, something like that. And actually, I very vainly just Google imaged my own name, which you've got to love. And I seem to have got most of them. Unfortunately, number 12 is a different Alan Donegan, which I don't like.
No,
and he
get
says,
out of here, different
Poetic
Donegan.
Justice. Alan Donegan crashed into 20-mile-an-hour sign after 100-mile-an-hour car chase, according to the Daily Echo. So he needs to definitely be removed from the top of that list. But it is interesting how all these items line up and then you start to show up for the different items as you go down.
So I'm aware we've got into this rabbit warren of words and stuff that we can put on. And actually, what we've been talking about is what can we add? Let's add more stuff because that will fix it. That's part of it, is giving Google more content to look at and reinforce what we're doing. Actually, there's this whole other bit that we need to dive into now, which is about mobile and being optimized for a mobile device. So Google favor websites. So I think the stat is something mad, like 70% of people browsing the internet use their mobile phone or a tablet, a mobile device, not a desktop, not a laptop. I think, again, there's an element of who's your customer involved, because if you're selling to corporates or a company, they're more likely to be sat in front of a computer 9 times out of 10. But actually, thinking about your clients, Christina, they're creative, they're in the marketing department. They're probably going to be using phones and tablets, probably more because they're walking around. And, I imagine your clients to have like really funky offices with like bean bags and no desks and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine they don't have a huge amount of desktops and laptops, right? So actually, regardless, having your website built for mobile is more important than it's ever been, ever. And there's a couple of edits that we can do. just to make sure it loads quicker. Load time is
Okay.
one of the biggest things that Google will look at because, again, we're in this society where people want things now. I can order
Yeah.
things and get it in 2 hours' time. I want this web page to load within a millisecond of me clicking on it. And so Google will look at this stuff. And actually, there's a website I use when I build websites. It's on Google's developer thing, but it's just called PageSpeed Insights. It's a Google tool, and what you can do is just go into that, paste in your URL, and it will literally rate your website in terms of load speed out of
Okay.
100, right? And I'm gonna shame you a little bit. No, I'm not. I'm lying. So I've
Shame
searched.
me, Henry. Use my website.
No,
Shame
you can
me.
shame me. It's fine. I like to lie.
I'm going to shame both of you because it's more fun that way. So
Uh-oh.
starting with Christina, I put your I put your website in, Christina. For desktop, your website scores 85 out of 100. Pretty good. Pretty good. That's at the high end. I think so they do like traffic light systems. So red, amber, green. Green starts at 90.
Okay.
So like you're pretty good. Like you're there, and that's for a desktop setup. Do you want to have a guess? And I will let you have within a 5-point mark. What do you think it is for mobile?
40.
You were within 5 points. It's 36.
Oof. Which is
Yeah,
low end,
right.
isn't it?
Which it's
Yeah.
in the red, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that it sucks, right? All this means is it's
Yeah.
just how long does the website take to load. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that can go towards this. The easiest thing to manage is the images.
Yeah.
So as long as the images are not huge files, if we want to make sure that they're small enough. And there are websites online that can do that and reduce the sort of image size for you and all that. You don't have to go through Photoshop and things like this. But minimizing the weight of your website, Google are more likely to favor it because it's quick to load and they want people to find what they're looking for quickly. On top of, does it actually look good on a mobile? Is it user friendly?
Yeah.
So going through, so when you go onto PageSpeed Insights, for example, it will give you some tips and some stuff to think about. One thing that it looks at is how long is it until your website is interactive. So have you ever done that where you've clicked on a website and then it's loading and you can't scroll or do anything or click anything because it's still loading?
Yeah.
Your website took 7.2 seconds before it would let me interact with it. And again, it's got a bunch of bullet points on how you can solve that. It does talk a little bit about coding, but you can ignore that unless you're brave. But like I say, the main thing that you want in there is reducing the images, just making sure that they're not, you don't want a massive 8 megabyte photo when it's only displaying in like a 400 square pixel thing on a screen, right? You want that to be as small as possible without sacrificing quality. That's the easiest way of doing this. And then again, that goes for videos, that goes for animations. If your website has loads of stuff flying in from left, right, and center, I know that's a very 90s thing now, but some people still do it. And just making sure that the website just flows really nicely is a really good way to do it. So that's just something to think about, Christina, and maybe check in on PageSpeed Insights, like make some changes, leave it for a week, then go back in and see if it's made a difference. And just do it, kind of like that, because the better we can hone in on this sort of stuff, the more Google will favor our website.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to check that out because, I have a feeling that I have not resized images and etc.
Yeah.
They're probably quite large.
Yeah, but that's it, right? And we've done this. I think before we moved, so when we were the pop-up business school and we had our gorgeous, sort of 10-year-old website on Weebly, I don't think we ever thought about that.
No, we didn't. I just built it.
Yeah, I'd hate to think of what ours was. Anyway, while we're on the subject, Alan, what do you think your score is?
Well, I've just been looking it up myself. Yeah.
The cheater. You're supposed to
I
guess.
am a cheat. Well, I wanted to know. Like, I am way worse than you are, Christina. So, yeah. Mobile is 27 out of 100.
Oh, wow.
Which I guarantee, like the bit Henry said about when I'm writing a blog post, I just take a photo on my phone and upload it. So those photos are 2-3 megabytes a time. And I bet you that's part of it. I've never bothered optimizing any of my stuff for load time because I've been building it myself and I've just done it myself. Yeah, so it's very, very low on that. On mobile, it's slightly, on desktop, it's slightly better. I'm 63, but I'm way worse than you, Christina.
win.
Way worse.
Woo!
Yeah, you have defeated me.
Yeah. Haha.
But so this thing is not meant to attack. This is not meant to go, ha, your website sucks. That's, this is just,
No.
there's always room to improve. And actually,
Mhm.
just to give everybody listening to this comfort, Alan, the host of the show, has never thought about doing this. Like, it's okay. This stuff happens. And actually, this stuff isn't relevant
And
when you
he's
start.
still got a show.
And
Google
he still
didn't
has a
kick you
podcast.
out. You're not in
And I
like
still
the
like him.
Google, I don't know, black
Bad
hole.
books.
They
Yeah.
they put you in the Sarlacc pit, and they're like, he can't do SEO.
They even let me do a
Useless.
Google talk, even
Oh,
though my
wow.
website is on the useless list.
Yeah.
Yes, they even let me do a Google talk. And I think that's the thing, is actually as a small business owner, you cannot be good at everything.
No.
Like, you just need to do what you can and keep it moving forwards. And sometimes Henry comes along and says, here's some insights, and you hang your head in shame, and then you do the best you can and move on.
Well, it's pretty useful because I wouldn't have known to look at that. And like
No.
something like resizing an image is, I feel, a fairly doable afternoon fix. Like go through and resize.
And again, every time I come on the show, I say the phrase little and often.
Yeah.
But I live by that mantra. And it's exactly the same with this. You don't have to search your website, your domain on here straight away and then fix everything within 10 minutes, because it's not how it works. You have other stuff to do. There's more important things for you to be doing. But all of this works together. So, like, put it on the list, get to it. Yeah, just do small amounts of this stuff when you can. Don't sacrifice the sales time. Don't sacrifice the stuff that you actually enjoy doing, because nobody, even me, I don't enjoy doing this stuff, but it needs to be done. It's important. So just add it to the list. So I think, my summary of this stuff, and I've got one final point that I've sort of touched on, but I want to go into a little bit. We want to make sure that this stuff is working on mobile. 70% of your users are going to be on a mobile device, possibly more, depending on who your audience is. You need to make sure that this thing works. And Christina, your website looks incredible on a desktop. I love the layout of it. It's really, really like intuitive. It's easy to use. On a mobile, a lot of those features you've got in there hide. So we just need to make sure that it's a little bit more obvious where we want people to go, what we want them to do. We want to make sure this stuff loads quickly, and put your stuff onto Page Speed Insights. See how you score. If it's drastically bad, then probably put some thought into it. If it'll do, it's in amber, then fine, move on with life. There's other stuff to be doing, but just make sure you pay attention to it, and just use every opportunity you've got to drive traffic through to that place, because the number one thing that Google look at is, are people using it? Are people using whatever the center of your universe is? Are they using this YouTube channel? Are they using this website? Are they using this blog? And are they finding what they need? If so, I'm going to show it to more people because it's obviously valuable. So optimize for mobile, make sure it loads quickly, and just push traffic, because then it will it's kickstarting the engine, and it will start to spin, it will start to turn on its own.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I've never actually looked at the mobile version. Well,
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. It's not as bad as I expected, though, based on what you just said.
Yeah, it's fine. It works. That's the main thing. Like, done is better than perfect. Let's get it out there. Let's send it to some customers. But we do want to make sure we pay attention to this stuff, because if we want things to come to us, we need this thing to work for us, not against us.
All right. Projects, mobile.
More and more to-dos. So the only thing the only thing I haven't yet mentioned, which we could talk for hours about, and actually I want to pass to Alan a little bit more for this one, is blogs and content. We've spoken a lot about getting the keywords in, putting content on the website that Google can read and look at. Blogs act in a slightly different way. A blog page or a blog article is a lot lighter in weight. A blog article is it's going to go a lot further, a lot quicker, because Google see that it's got a timestamp, it see that it's got a different kind of value, so it's more likely to push that to the top. And we spoke about Kieran earlier. I mentioned Kieran, the dozy owl. He made money sleeping, selling mattresses. Some of his most visited pages weren't the homepage. They weren't the my top 10 mattresses page. It was none of that. It was the best mattress for back pain. that kind of stuff. And it's the stuff that people are searching for. They're finding the blog article, and that's giving them the value, and then also passing them through to the rest of the website. And if you're
Yeah.
smart, you've got the mailing list stuff in there, and you're capturing people as they're coming through. Creating a blog, creating content enables this stuff to go a little bit further in a Google search. Alan, you've been running alandonegan.com since I've known you, which is at least
It's not quite that long. It's only been, I think, 2 and a bit years. I actually inspired myself after a Website Wednesday course. I went on my own training course, inspired myself, and built it in the evening with Liam in Croydon. So it's only been a couple of years. I'm still getting into it. But yeah, it seems to have grown reasonably well, despite how badly it loads, Henry.
I told you, it doesn't mean everything. But so like obviously this is a whole subject in itself of how do you write a blog? What do you write about? Do I put pictures in it? Do I just write? Do I put videos? How does that whole thing work? But actually just thinking, what are your top 5 things that people are searching for to find you? Like Christina, for example, you could write one blog article that is, and please don't use it word for word because I could be terribly wrong, how to take pictures for my products, or how to take the best looking product photos, how to take the best looking product photos on a mobile phone. Things that people are going to be searching for, get that blog post in front of them, and then you're adding value, they're learning, which will then push them again through to the center of the universe. Blogs sort of sit not at the center, they're almost alongside Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and the blogs are definitely the workers you put out into the field that people find and then come back to you. One random idea from me, Henry, please criticize my idea. Could Christina write an article, how to hire a commercial photographer, or the top 5 things to look at for a commercial photographer?
Yes.
Or
That'd be
when to use a
interesting, yeah.
commercial photographer? Why would you hire a commercial photographer? Like, I feel like there's some very simple articles that could be just 5 things, a list of 5 things, 5 reasons to hire a commercial photographer. And then you've got all sorts of keyword data, all sorts of stuff that could link into that.
Yeah, and just to build on that, I've been looking for an office manager, like to hire an office manager for us at Rebel, and throughout all of my searches, all of the admin work that I've been doing, something that keeps coming up is the question: is this right yet? Is this the right time for me to get an office manager? What do they actually do? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there an interim step? So actually, I think that's a smashing idea. Yeah, like, is a commercial photographer right for you? Because you might get a bunch of businesses doing it for themselves, bottlenecking the entire marketing process because they haven't figured out yet that actually, if I just get someone better at this than I am, my life becomes easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that. That's smart. And even something like things to consider when planning a creative product shoot, or, brainstorming a creative product session, stuff like that. That's like gives people something to think about. It gives them information, but then also goes, oh, wow, there's value here. Like, I want to work with that person because I like what they said. And that could be, they're really going to do something cool with my stuff.
I also think there's a dual purpose for that you could send the article to new clients saying, you've booked me, read this so that we make sure we get the most out of our photo shoot, and you're actually giving great value to them and providing content. I think that would be really useful, because when I've hired a photographer in the past, let's be honest, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I just hire a photographer and Christina has done photos for me. She's done an amazing job, actually. If you want to see the photos, some of them that Christina did for me, check out her Google My Business listing, and you'll find some of the photos in my review on there. But I don't know what I'm doing. Like, if someone sent me an article going, here's the 5 things you need to think through. What are you going to wear? What's your list of photos do you want to do? Have you flossed? I don't know, whatever the list is. I think that would be really, really valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it reminds me
consider.
It reminds me of our first ever press photo shoot that we ever had at the Rebel Business School. And it was Simon and Alan basically going to a field in the middle of London, because those do exist, with a photographer. and I remember we got an info pack the days before going, here's what you should wear. And and this was specifically for print. So this is photos that are going to be in newspapers, in magazines, on blogs. And there's this whole bunch of stuff that I had never even considered. Like, for example, wear red or pink with no logos, no anything on it, because it will stand out better in a, sort of dull printed newspaper, for example. And I specifically remember Alan getting really upset because he only ever wears Marvel t-shirts.
Yeah, I
that's a
know.
different
It's kind of a
subject.
thing. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, they were making me to buy more clothing, and it is not my favorite experience going clothes shopping.
Well, then maybe you should get a stylist just for the shoot. They'll bring you wardrobe, they'll dress you, then, Okay, now we're
I
getting
think I
off.
need one, Christina. But look, we are definitely getting off subject. Back to the blogs. Blogs can provide great content. They're searchable. You can get your keywords in them, and they actually provide value alongside this thing. And maybe we'll do an entirely different episode on that. Let's sort of wrap up. Before I come to you for your closing remarks, Henry, Christina, as always, what are you going to do about all this stuff? Is there anything that you've gone, yes, I must do this today, must be on my list? Or have you gone, oh my word, this is overwhelming?
Okay, I think my first thing is add text to pages that
Yes.
says what we're doing, and then slowly go through. I'm not gonna do this all in a day, but look at the page insights, like the speed insights, and then go through and probably resize images. And then I will also spend some time with mobile and go through and see what I can tweak to make that look better, load better, etc. Oh, and then blogs. I think I can make a list of some blog article topics that I can work on doing.
Excellent. There's a fantastic list that we can start on straight away. And I think the quick, easy solve is the couple of paragraphs of text to each page that describe what it is with your keywords. I think that's going to be a really simple, easy thing to do to get going. Henry, hit us with our digital life closing thoughts.
That's a big ask. I think my closing thoughts would be make this work for you and remember why we're doing this stuff, because most of us are creatives. If you're starting your own business, you're probably a creative. You probably have one thing that you absolutely love doing, but because you've started your own business, there's a bunch of other stuff you've got to do around that to make it possible. This is one of those other things. You're probably not going to fall in love with doing this stuff, but you need to enjoy it along the way. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun. You're not going to want to keep doing it. So keep in mind, what's the purpose? Why are we actually doing this? And we're doing this so that in 1-2 years' time, you're not the one having to forcibly push to make sales. People are coming to you at the same time. I tell you, life gets so much easier when the phone starts ringing rather than you having to dial people every single day. And I think keeping that purpose, keeping that vision, that goal in mind as a very reasonably short to medium term goal, that people will ring me for business, not the other way around, it's super realistic. And this is just one of the keys to enabling us to do that. And, have fun along the way, post stuff on social media that you find fun, engage with people that you want to be spending your time with. Don't just do this because you feel like you have to, because it's not going to happen very well and you're not going to do it for very long. And I think my final point, and this is really from my own experience and the pain of doing this to myself, the worst thing you can do is put an action on your to-do list titled finish SEO, because it just doesn't end. There's always more stuff to be doing. So make it manageable. As Christina's gone through her actions, make it really short, easy, manageable actions that you take. Do those, leave it for a month or so, then revisit what else can I be doing. But don't put finish SEO, because it just won't end. And that will always be on a to-do list. It will drive you crazy. Believe me, I know.
Henry, fabulous advice, loads of information. I've been somewhat shamed myself into taking action on my own website. The website can never be finished. Just make progress. Thank you for listening to the coaching series with Christina, Henry, and I. We are here to help you on your journey to building your website, building your business, setting up your digital life, and creating the future of your dreams. Go take a tiny action that builds towards the future. You can have any life you want to. Choose to build something cool. Choose to take action. Choose to work to make your dreams become reality. Stand out. Be different. Be yourself. Be a rebel entrepreneur.